Okay, so Grayzone Warfare Madfinger Games have just released patch 3.2, and it is a big one. So in this video, I'm going to cover absolutely everything. So if you want to see something specific, you'll be able to. I will leave timestamps down below that cover all of the topics that are in the patch notes. If you want to jump around and figure out, what things are important to you, you can do that. I'm going to go through this as quickly as I possibly can. I really don't want a 40-minute video, so let's go ahead and jump into the patch notes. Real quick though, just want to remind you guys that if you're looking for the trader Vulture, feel free to come into my Twitch chat anytime, whether I'm live or not, and type in !Vulture, and you will be able to see which cops he is at anytime. Patch 3.2 is now live on the public branch. I believe it was in the beta for a little bit. I'm not sure who all has access to that, but it is now live for everyone. Quick little summary here. This patch includes many improvements and fixes based on your feedback, us. Notable changes include the addition of illumination for selected reticles, so things like the EOTech Voodoo will now be illuminated. The first iteration of contrast abuse countermeasures, further VRAM optimizations, vendor stock tweaks, and a fix for armor losing protection when equipping rigs. So lots to cover here. Let's keep going. They say we're genuinely grateful for your feedback from the experimental testing, which has confirmed that fixes are working as intended. We're working on future patches and hot fixes as we speak, so stay tuned and thank you for your support. Now, if you guys are unaware of how to report a bug or report some kind of issue, there is a link at the end of the patch notes. I will put that in the description that you guys can use to report any bugs that you find. It is this right here that will be in the description, so feel free to use that. I wanted to throw that in there before we got into everything. The first category is going to be notable fixes / improvements. The minimum contrast value has been adjusted to prevent exploits during the nighttime gameplay. Long story short, on this one, you could use the contrast slider in your settings to gain a bit of advantage and be able to see at nighttime like it was daytime. It was actually pretty busted, so now night vision might actually be super useful. Equipping rigs no longer causes the vest armor to lose its protection value. I never had any issues with this, but that's there. Reduce restrictions on selected items and vendor stocks. Here we go. If you want to read that, go ahead and pause. They are right there. Added an option to enable / disable illumination on selected scopes with illuminated reticles. Again, that's all there. If you want to read it, there you go. This is huge. I'm actually super excited for this. I've been wanting this for a while now because it's hard to see at nighttime with the Voodoo with no kind of reticle illumination. The effect of fog and raindrops on NVG scopes and kilometers was reduced to increase visibility. This is huge. I could not see anything when there was just raindrops falling all over the place. It was just really hard to see. Conflict zone diameter increased to 300 meters. I'm not 100% sure what this one is. If somebody knows, feel free to clarify down in the comments. Quick access menu now correctly displays all available tactical devices. Vomiting no longer interrupts healing animations. Thank the Lord for that. Several types of client crashes and a minor VRAM usage optimization was implemented. Okay, so that's that section. Next up is going to be changes to the AI. Fixed an issue where AI NPCs could occasionally overlap or walk on top of each other. AI NPCs no longer clip through ground or objects. Allied AI NPCs no longer appear in the air after the player captures a combat outpost. AI NPCs can no longer pass through a locked door in Bon Campette. Fixed an issue causing fatal wounds of AI NPCs not to display correctly on the looting screen under certain circumstances. AI PMCs in the villas area of Midnight Sapphire no longer spawn with SVDs. AI NPC spawn rates were slightly increased at smaller locations, and AI NPCs no longer spawn in the locked room at Yacht Club in Tiger Bay. That's everything for the AI. Now we're going to jump into the UI. Players no longer get task completed notifications every time they log in. Fixed an issue where the mouse pointer displayed a rectangular shadow when hovering over certain main menu elements. XP bar now correctly fills only by the amount of XP awarded from completing a task, preventing overflow. Information about multiple wounds in the same location now displays correctly in the health screen. Number of charges on provisions and medical items now updates correctly in loot boxes when multiple players interact with them simultaneously. The prompt now displays the correct text when safely ending deployment in combat outposts. Hovering over the report button on the desk screen no longer displays an unintended square. Report button no longer grays out after a comment is entered and the report window is canceled. A dedicated icon for tracking tag in the context menu has been added. Fix a typo in the basic equipment repair kit description. Small suture kit no longer appears overly zoomed upon opening. Dragging a 3D object in the inventory no longer results in item names being displayed as text block. The scorpion can now be placed inside the buried containers, so the caches, hidden caches. Players can now properly interact with objects while holding a grenade. Mortar strike line thickness now visually represents their levels. Death screen now displays correct information for deaths caused by radiation, falls, and explosions. Relocated the maintenance timer to prevent obstruction of other main menu elements, and wiping a player's character now correctly removes vendor messages. Okay, so that's everything changed to the UI. Let's get into the localization. Unsupported languages no longer appear as an option in the in-game language settings. Fix a typo in the check localization of the character customization screen. The in deployment outside of FOB prompt is now localized for all supported languages. On-off slider options in the game tab of in-game settings are now localized. The word crash in the feedback form is now localized properly. Custom server hints are now localized for all supported languages. The faction sign-up bonus text was adjusted in PTBR. I don't know what that means. The format for prices over 1,000 USD in the vendor screen for Spanish localization. All right, so nothing too crazy there, but it is there if you were curious. Next, we're going to jump into the graphics changes. The environment no longer disappears and re-renders after alt-tabbing when using DLSS or XESS. This is actually a big one. I'm kind of excited about this one, and I cannot wait to try it out later. Gray hair on low graphic presets no longer appears excessively shiny in the 3D character preview. Scoping in with the PSO while PVS 14 is active no longer produces a blurry background. Moon now displays proper textures and cloudy weather on low graphics settings. Raindrops no longer appear black on the night vision device lenses. Razer 1x6 red dot appears the same across all graphics settings. AI NPCs flashlights are no longer passing through walls or objects. Thank goodness. This one was bothering the crap out of me. You'd be like going through Midnight Sapphire and there's just flashlights pointing everywhere, coming through walls, coming through the ceiling, the floors. It was crazy. I'm so glad they fixed this. Flashlight illumination no longer disappears in third-person view when observing player movement. All weather presets now have correct lighting during nighttime. Overall ambient no longer appears too dark when global illumination is set to low. I think they meant to put ambience. Adjusted night brightness on low graphic presets in non-moonlit conditions. All right, so that's everything for the graphics changes. Now let's look at the animation changes. Surf kit animations were refined to have uniform length and camera shake was reduced. AI ragdoll animations now start from the correct initial pose. The Scorpion magazine no longer displays incorrect during weapon check or magazine check animations. The SKS magazine no longer clips through the weapon during the reload animation while crouching. The slide is now correctly pushed by the player's character during reload animations for the Glock 17 and the Olive version when in the prone. Player character no longer twitches when switching between weapons in third person and first person view. This one's actually huge. I've noticed that one myself. Glad they fixed it. Prone and sprint animations and their transitions now display correctly. Crouched movement initiation with rifles and pistols was tweaked to prevent camera and weapon glitching during micro movements. Holding ADS no longer prevents interaction with doors. I think this one will be pretty cool. You'll be able to use the canned aim and open a door at the same time. I think that's a pretty cool change. I'm not sure anybody asked for that, but I am happy about it. Next up, we've got changes to the world. Supply crates for use by community game masters during events have been added, allowing them to store and distribute loot. I think this applies to the custom server stuff. Not 100% sure. Many locations where players could get stuck have been fixed, so here is that list. If you want to go ahead and pause it and read that, you can. Multiple floating and clipping objects have been fixed. Again, if you want to pause and read through those, you're more than welcome. Fixed incorrectly assigned material of these two things right here. I don't really know what that means, but they're there if you want to read them. Fix a hole in the terrain near Bearcat. Fix the water texture incorrectly placed on the landscape near the November 2 landing zone. Grenades no longer bounce off an invisible collision at Hunter's Paradise firing lanes. Certain windows in the terminal at Falling Airfield and Midnight Sapphire are no longer bulletproof. Small Marketplace house key now correctly spawns near Falling Airfield. Improved key spawns for the Siang radio station room. Helicopter can no longer fly through a tree on the way from landing zone Kilo 1 and Mike 2. Missing street lamps are now properly placed in Tiger Bay military base. All right, next up is going to be custom servers. I don't know a whole lot about this. I thought we didn't have access to it. That is all there if you want to read it. I'm not going to go through these. Again, same thing with Twitch drops. If you want to pause it and read through this, you're more than welcome. None of this is really all that important. Next up, again, is going to be strike missions. I don't think this is super important unless you play with people in a squad, then this will be, this will apply to you, but I mostly only play solo, so I'm going to skip this one. Next is weapons and ammunition. The appearance of the new AK 545-762 magazines now correctly reflects 100% durability. The crosshairs of ACOG and Spectre DR remain visible at all distances in third-person view. Fixed an issue where weapon part colors would shift based on viewing distance in the third-person view. Zeroing is now functional with default iron sights on the M4 and AK. Fixed the AKM Zhukov FDE stock compatibility issue. Whatever this is not in the game anymore. Only 1 kilometer can be mounted to the Glock 17. Aimpoint T2 kilometers now display the correct icon and description. Players no longer able to use weapon parts that are being repaired. Composition of M62 ammo adjusted to reflect real-world behavior. Weapon collision boxes now update properly when the player switches weapons. Fix an issue with the weapon remaining stuck in canted position after ending a session with canting enabled. And then finally, we have other fixes. A couple of good things here. If you guys want to read through those and pause it, they are all right there. Nothing super crazy here, but it is there. The biggest thing I think is civilian medkits spawn rate was reduced. These things were everywhere, and I'm so glad they have fixed this. And that's it. This link right here will be down in the description, as well as a link to all of the patch notes. If you guys want to report a bug or read these for yourself, they will be down below, so feel free to do that there. Again, if you want to know where Vulture is, come into my Twitch chat, type in !Vulture, and that will tell you exactly which outpost he is at. And I'm going to be live after this video goes up, checking out the new patch. So if you want to come in and say hi, say what's up, I would greatly appreciate that. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.